Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are having the best time in Colombia. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex stepped out on Thursday in Colombia and attended a presentation at the National Center for the Arts, where they were caught on video clapping and beaming as they took it all in. Meghan stunned an address by Johanna Ortiz for the event. Earlier in the day, she rocked a navy blue Veronica Beard vest with matching suit pants. Their outing comes after the pair made a rare joint interview on CBS's Sunday Morning, where they shared insight into their parenting lives and personal struggles in the hopes of helping others.
I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way, and I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans, and I would never want someone else to not be believed. So if me voicing what I have overcome will save someone, or asks or encourage someone in their life to really genuinely check in on them and not assume that the appearance is good so everything's okay, then that's worth it. I'll take a hit for that. I think you have to start somewhere. I think the simplest thing that anyone watching this or anyone who's able to make change, to look at it through the lens of, what if it was my daughter? What if it was my son? My son or my daughter who comes home, who are joyful, who I love, and one day, right under my roof, our entire lives change because of something that was completely out of our control. And if you look at it through the lens as a parent, there is no way to see that any other way than to try to find a solution.
Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been continuing their 4-day visit to Colombia. Now, the couple have been looking to highlight the impact of the digital world on young people and promote women's leadership during the trip. And they had a warm welcome yesterday from the Vice President of Colombia, Francia Marquez, who invited the couple after watching a Netflix series about their lives. But how has the visit been received by the wider population? Well, John Bonfilio is the Times Latin America correspondent. He's with us to discuss this. John, hello, good evening to you.
Hey, Henry.
Hi. I'm just looking at a picture of Meghan and Vice President Marquez in a very, very nice, warm embrace. And I presume that sets the tone for this visit.
It does. And I think there's definitely an affinity there between the two women. As you say, Francia Marquez, who actually, I think it's important to say, is a sort of a campaigner, an activist across society, across environment. So I think she definitely sees Meghan perhaps a little bit in the same way, because I think this trip is all about, much more about Meghan than it is about Harry, and she's the one that's at the forefront. We've had in Colombia undoubtedly a media frenzy. There's been riveting magazine coverage of Meghan's outfits, chat about how this visit has placed William and Kate in a checkmate. No, I don't understand that either. And how this is a defining event for Latin America. There is a level of hysteria, especially among the tabloids and the magazines, that surrounds this visit, which is really, really pretty heightened.
Yeah. I understand that the couple have a full security detail during this visit, and some people are pointing out, well, it's not a royal visit. They're not here at the request of the UK government or indeed of Buckingham Palace. So exactly how should we see it? I mean, the people of Colombia and the Vice President certainly see it as something, if not royal, very prestigious.
Yeah, absolutely. My understanding of the security detail is that is more about the reputation that Colombia has. Their itinerary has been definitely kept quiet up until the last minute. And I also understand that the Duke and Duchess were seeking assurances as to their safety and their security, which meant that was a sort of a non-negotiable as far as the trip goes. However, a level of security detail that big brings up the question, which is in some of the few critical remarks that are being issued over in Colombia, is who is paying for the trip, because Colombia it doesn't have a surfeit of wealth in its coffers, and we'd be surprised if it was Meghan and Harry paying for it, and nobody has revealed who is footing the bill for for the visit.
Yeah, and if you think about why Francia Marquez would have invited them, I mean, I said in the introduction it was because she was moved by Meghan's, or the Netflix documentary in which Meghan talked about her plight and, you know, life in the royal family. And Francia Marquez, it's important to say, is the first vice president of African origin. I mean, African Cuban, what would you call it, Colombiana? Or I'm not quite sure what the term would be.
Afro-Colombian.
Afro-Colombian, yeah, that's right. So there might be some resonance there, given Meghan's African-American heritage on her mum's side. But beyond that, I mean, what is the pull? What's the draw?
I think you're right. I think there is a sort of a synchronicity, and definitely this government, and Francia Marquez in particular, are trying to make the government recognizable to the people. And that's, of course, in terms of female representation, but also in terms of Afro-Colombian representation too. I think that very clearly the sort of the celebrity component of this visit and the frenzy that we're seeing does allow for this discussion, for the central focus of the trip around cyberbullying, female representation, and internet violence to come to the fore. I would also say that it's a very the non-royal nature of the visit is also actually really important. If you look at the history of Colombia and colonial forces in particular, by privateers over the course of the last few centuries. If we remember back, the last big royal trip was by then Prince Charles in 2014 to, in theory, boost bilateral relations, but actually only succeeded in generating controversy as Charles was seen to venerate British privateers who had historically sacked the region on the royal shilling. So I would argue that the non-royal nature of this trip actually makes it more important.
Prince Harry and his wife Meghan have begun a 4-day tour of Colombia. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were invited by the country's Vice President for what's been nicknamed a DIY royal tour. Our South America correspondent Ione Wells has more from Bogota.
Prince Harry and Meghan are no longer working royals, but as their first visit to Latin America shows, when on tour, they still get a majestic welcome. They're here in Colombia as guests of the country's Vice President, Francia Marquez, the first black woman to hold that role. For both parties, this visit is about sharing ideas to protect children from harm online. They met children at this school before discussing solutions with activists and experts too. Prince Harry and Meghan have spoken openly about attacks they've faced on social media. Colombia's Vice President said she too had faced discrimination since she was a child. For both parties, this is also about publicity, with the couple and government only allowing their own personal videographers into some events. Prince Harry and Meghan hope to promote their campaigns to make the internet a safer place and maintain their influence and visibility on the world stage. They still attract meetings with global leaders. For the government here, it's publicity too ahead of elections next year. The Sussexes have said they fear doing similar high-profile events back in the UK after suffering threats online and no longer receiving the government-funded security they did as working royals. This second overseas tour in just a few months leaves many wondering if international campaigning is where their focus is turning. Ione Wells, BBC News in Bogotá.
El duque y la duquesa de Sussex cumplieron desde el jueves una agenda de 4 días en su primera visita a Colombia. Invitados por la vicepresidenta Francia Márquez, en Bogotá visitaron colegios, sembraron árboles y tocaron temas cruciales como la salud mental y el impacto del ciberacoso en los jóvenes.
Los vimos y los pudimos saludar, les dimos la mano, eso fue... Ellos son, ¿cómo decírtelo? Tienen una energía que tú la notas, es una energía hermosa, las notas apenas ellos entran a cualquier lugar, fue muy lindo haberlos podido conocer.
En Cartagena, la pareja fue recibida con una interpretación del himno nacional de Colombia y tamboras con el ritmo de Palenque, una comunidad golpeada por la violencia y desplazamiento forzado. En esa visita, una sabia local realizó un ritual que, según la tradición, predice prosperidad para los duques y la vicepresidenta.
Tender puentes y abrir puertas que nos permitan sumar esfuerzos para visibilizar y atender un problema que hoy preocupa a toda la humanidad.
Tras esta serie de eventos, el príncipe Harry y su esposa Meghan finalizaron su agenda de visita en Colombia con un foro temático sobre la mujer afro y su poder en Cali.
Mujeres ayudando mujeres, muy bien.
El mundo nos está viendo de una forma esperanzadora, pero de una forma que además no teníamos a unos personajes de este talante o de esta envergadura desde hace mucho tiempo.
Los duques de Sussex en esa visita, la primera de Latinoamérica, también se reunieron con algunos militares colombianos que fueron a la guerra de Corea, que se extendió hasta el año 1953. En Colombia, Zulayu Cross, Noticias Telemundo.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry met some young children on the latest stop of their tour of Colombia. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex visited the school, Colegio La Giralda, in Bogota on day 2 of their international trip. Outside the school, students performed a dance for Harry and Meghan. And in the classroom, they all got a chance to bond. Meghan was photographed hugging and smiling with the little ones, while Harry got in an adorable handshake. The pair reportedly practiced their Spanish while chatting with the children. According to People magazine, Harry asked the students their names and ages in their native language, while Meghan told one 5-year-old student in Spanish, "You're the same age as my son, Archie." In addition to Archie, Meghan and Harry are also parents of 3-year-old daughter Lilibet. The Sussexes recently mentioned their kids during a sit-down interview with CBS Sunday Morning, where they discussed social media bullying and how important it is as parents to protect children from online harm.
Our kids are young, they're 3 and 5. They're amazing. But all you want to do as parents is protect them. And so as we can see what's happening in the online space, we know that there's a lot of work to be done there.